Hello, welcome to another GoldMine 101, our regular series of short presentations giving you hints and tips for getting the most out of GoldMine CRM. And in this session, I'm going to walk you through an example automated process for handling, keeping a track of long-term prospects, so a long sales cycle. So following on from previous sessions, hopefully you caught those, so we're listening live, where I introduced GoldMine's automated process feature. This is going to be a process that's going to be ideally suited where you get inquiries from potential customers, but for whatever reason, they're not ready to buy right now. Perhaps in your business, you've got potential customers that might take many weeks, months, or even years before an order takes place, an order happens. So how can you use GoldMine to easily maintain some kind of contact with these prospects so you don't lose touch with them, and also working with the whole system with the minimum of effort? In this session, then I'm going to walk you through an example process. Now, every business will be different as regards how their different sales processes, how they handle long-term inquiries or long-term prospects. And as I go through, I'll try and explain where you might introduce a little tweak or change to the example to suit you better. So hello, my name is Tim Wilmot and my company Wizard System. We're a specialist CRM solutions provider, and we help out small and mid-sized companies improve their sales productivity, marketing, and customer service through the use of simple and affordable solutions like GoldMine. Now, the audio part of this event is one way only. If you've got a question about anything I'm going on about, please pop that into the questions section on your control panel, probably floating there in the top right corner of your screen, those listening live, and I'll do my best to answer that at the end. Just a brief mention about Wizard Systems then. We're a long-standing provider of GoldMine. We've been working with the product now nearly 32 years, and we're a one-stop shop for GoldMine and indeed many other CRMs. We're not just GoldMine people. We do supply a number of other leading CRM solutions, very different from what GoldMine looks like, is how you access it and so on. But as regards GoldMine, we are a one-stop shop. We can provide everything you need as regards to the product, upgrades, support, training. So a one-stop shop for all of your GoldMine services. Right, let's dive into GoldMine then and take a look at an example automated process for managing a long-term prospect. Just a bit of orientation. First of all, here is an example GoldMine system, GoldMine contact record. And here you've got to think how in your system. Now, what I'm going to show you here is just a few examples of how you might do it, but you may be doing it slightly differently there. Your GoldMine system might have been set up umpteen years ago and you're tracking things in a different way. So a long-term prospect. Well, I've got a field here against my GoldMine contact records called type. And in there, I can enter in the current status of that contact. Typically, it would be a prospect, maybe a customer, well, hopefully a customer in the end. You might use the terminology of lead or suspect before they become a prospect. You might also, I've also seen some people put in lapsed customers. So a client may be actively buying from you, but then they don't buy from you for whatever reason. So again, they may fall into the category of a long-term prospect for a future service. So that's the first little field there. The second one is a field I've got here called stage. Again, you could call it what you want. You may be tracking this in a slightly different way, but trying to trying to sort of note in GoldMine, where is this person in the sales process? And or how important is this person or company to your organization? So again, another little entry there that may have some implication on whether we apply this long-term process to this contact record. So there's a couple of fields there. There may be others, but those are the two main fields. We've got the process tab. Remember from our previous sessions, that's where you're going to see right now what processes that contact record is on. And remember, these processes consist of a number of events or things that are going on. So that process tab there will show you the one or many processes that contact record is on. They could be on multiple, maybe, depending on your situation, how it's set up. And also, what's the next thing that's going to happen when the whole system is when we run our processes? What's the next event that's going to happen against that contact record? Right. Let me go to automated processes in it and just walk you through this example process. And it could be one of many processes. Remember, there's a whole kind of sort of ecosystem of processes that might be going on. If you get into this feature, this really powerful feature of GoldMine, you're going to end up with loads of processes there, hopefully all doing different bits and pieces to your GoldMine records, just really improving your productivity. So here we go then. An example automated process. Let me just double click on the process itself, which launches the wizard, and I can take you through now through the wizard to show you how it's created. Of course, first of all, some kind of meaningful description. Code is optional. Likewise, the owner might be optional, but we've got a description there which explains to everyone that stumbles across this feature what the heck is going to do. Next, out of those three little checkboxes there, how is this going to be applied to your contact records? The top one there is pretty important, this one. Only allow one attachment of this process per contact. It is possible to, I don't know why GoldMine allows it, but it is possible to apply a process, duplicate a process against a contact record. And that could be, you can imagine, where we've got lots of things going on in an automated process, that could lead to some confusion. So good practice to tick that box there. So it's only one at a time, all right? Not going to do this, the second one there, execute process immediately upon attachment. Execute this process only when scanning a group of contacts. So that's the normal way when we have somebody in the company, or normally a server agent, something in the background. GoldMine is running these processes. Maybe, well, typically once a day, you'd be scanning your system, looking for things to do. So in this example, this process will only be looked at when we do that scan. Restart this process each time it ends. Now, I'm going to show you a way. Well, there's a few ways of doing this, but you might want to think, okay, we've got a long-term prospect here. Maybe, there could be maybe 6 months of making a decision. So we want to think over that 6 months, things that we might send them, little bits of information on the product or service they're interested in, maybe a few initiated phone calls from salespeople just to keep in touch during that 6-month period. But at the end of that 6 months, maybe this prospect still is not wanting to buy anything. So do we want to have the whole thing start again? Maybe you do. I suppose you've got to be wary of not being too repetitive if you are sending out emails, email templates to your contacts. So yeah, it's that would be a decision up to you whether you want to restart the process when it actually completes its whole cycle. Do you want to let your colleagues attach this process to a contact record? Might be a good idea. If a salesperson is working with a customer and thinks, oh yeah, these people here, they're not ready to buy right now. Maybe I'll just apply that long-term process that we created, so that they, at least they know then it's going to be something going to be ongoing with that long-term context. So you may want to allow your users to attach it, and ignore the bottom one. We covered this on our last session when we handled a new inquiry. Typically, you wouldn't do that on this particular existing contact record. Okay, let's go through these particular processes one by one. And it might actually be easier to, if I close that down, just expand this out a little bit. Right, we're looking at this section here, okay? And as I said earlier, a process consists of one or many events. Normally, each event happening after the previous event has taken place. Now, there are two different types of events in GoldMine Automated Processes. The first one is preemptive, this little P prefix here, and the next one is sequential. There's a number here, rather like a sequence, rather like a little sort of computer program, one happening after the other. That just helps us pop the event in the right kind of sequence or process. And then we've got the description of that particular event. So these preemptive events, and I'm not sure whether I covered this on the last session, but think of a preemptive event. You don't need these in every automated process, but they can be really useful for GoldMine to check with itself what this process is eventually going to do. Is it still relevant to this contact record the process is attached to? So thinking about a long-term prospect, if they suddenly buy something, we don't want to annoy this new customer with information that's relevant about a prospect. Maybe suddenly they unsubscribe from our mailings. Maybe they're no longer interested in our product. It'd be good practice to have the process build into the process these preemptive events, and they're numbered 0 through to 99. So you've got 100 of them for whatever purpose, and they're checking for things that are going on there. All right. So example ones here. So remove if an appointment is due. So if someone schedules an appointment, we're going to remove the process. Let me just double click this and I'll take you through this little event. So there's a description of the event. Here's the event type, preemptive. The sequence, not really necessary with these preemptive events. It's more important when we come on to the sequential events, where we do want to definitely have step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on. Yeah, and as you can see down the bottom there, we've got the event type is preemptive. So let me just walk you through this. So trigger on is scheduled activity. So we are going to look at whether an appointment is now suddenly due. Somebody scheduled an appointment. It's sitting there on the pending tab for everyone to see and for this process to see. So click next. What's going to happen? We're going to remove the process. All right. So again, thinking about what kind of action might take place if somebody has scheduled an appointment against that record. So that's one. There's another one there. Remove if it's a customer. So in a similar way, let me just double click on this just to show you. So description of what the event is going to do, preemptive, the sequence, next. This is a little D-based condition here. Don't worry too much about the syntax, but basically that's saying if the word customer is in that field in GoldMine, then next, remove process again. So GoldMine still uses this D-base function thing, D-base expressions. They're not, to be honest with you, they're not difficult to see or understand the syntax of them. and wizard systems can provide you assistance if you do get stuck. There is also a little dbase function helper, which you can trigger as you're creating these functions, just to double check on the syntax to make sure the dbase condition is going to work. So let me just see if we've got any others. So maybe we want to remove it if a sale is made. Another way of tracking it. Maybe they become a dead prospect for whatever reason. They're no longer interested. All right. So a few things there. Maybe they unsubscribe. So if we are doing some emails to them, we don't want to. We want to be compliant. All right, and we don't want to make them annoyed by us sending inappropriate emails to them. And maybe remove it if we have got some emails going out to them. Remove the process if for whatever reason there's no email address against the contact record. Again, a complete waste of time having the system trying to send an email to a record that nothing's going to go out, but it's just saving on time. Right, then, so after all those preemptive events, now this is the important bit. Thinking about day by day, week by week, month by month, what do you want to happen? And what would be the sort of gap between each of those actions happening? Well, in my example here, I've got, I don't know where you can see it, but I've got 1, 2, 3 different emails going out to this prospect. Each staggered. You're going to get a certain number of days staggering between them. And then a wake-up call. So somebody is going to phone them. Well, who's going to call them? Well, it might be the salesperson against that record. So Peter is going to get a phone call after that last email has gone out. And then last step there, sequential step, what is it, 600? Could be any number, to be honest with you. But it's now going to go back to what we've got here in this example system, a main track, the main observer track. Now, you don't need this if you're just concerned with these customers, potential customers you got, and they're taking a long time to make a decision, but you want to just have GoldMine ticking away in the background, sending them things, and then scheduling a phone call to them now and again just to see how things are going with that prospect and their inquiry, then that might be it. You just need that long-term automated process. You don't need to think about, well, how are we going to trigger it, or how are we going to go back to reevaluating whether we should be doing some other process with them. So you've got to think about, at the end of it, do you want something else to happen? And as I say, in this example here, it's part of an ecosystem of connected automated processes, rather like the roots of a tree, if you can imagine that, where this main track, this main process is applied to all records as we add it to GoldMine. And then within that main track, I might take you through this on another session, an example observer track where it is applied to all records in your GoldMine system. And from there, depending on what GoldMine finds, it will shoot off and apply another process. So if, for example, the main track established that for whatever reason, this contact is long-term, so going back to my example, contact record in GoldMine, somebody put in there too long-term. Maybe it was stage 4, but for whatever reason, it went back to long-term or not a prospect. That would be where the main track, that would be where the observer track would kick into action and apply the long-term automated process to this record. And it would tick away month by month, sending out those emails, doing a few wake-up calls to that contact. So there you are, an example long-term prospect that maybe you want to have a go at yourself, all right? Just familiarize yourself with these preemptive events. Think about how, looking at your GoldMine records, what's happening on the pending tab, what's happening on the history tab. So outstanding activities, completed activities. Could something going in there show somebody or identify to GoldMine that this is no longer a long-term prospect, or a simple thing, we change long-term to new inquiry. That would be another way. That would suddenly stop that process working because it's no longer a long-term prospect. This will be an example of one of those preemptive events. You know, if it's not numbered in my example here, if it doesn't start with number 2, it can't be a long-term prospect anymore. Remove the process. Go off and do something else. Okay. So think about that. As with all processes, it needs planning, and that investment of time and discussing with your colleagues and doing a little bit of testing. And we at Wizard Systems, we can provide some coaching for you and assistance if you really want to get into this powerful feature in GoldMine to really go to another level of productivity. All of these processes need a little bit of practicing with and planning and testing. But once they're in there, honestly, it can save you an awful lot of time and increase your productivity with the GoldMine product. So I hope that was useful to you, just to try and explain and just open up the possibilities to you of an example automated process. We may try some others in future events, but that's another pretty popular example there of using a GoldMine AP. Right, let me just see if there are any questions then. Question from Ross: what if there are changes of contacts at the companies? Well, of course, there's a few ways of changing your contacts, but the GoldMine Automated Processes will work on, hopefully, Ross, you're familiar with the way GoldMine tracks contacts at a company. You've got primary contacts at a company, and then you've got additional contacts. Your GoldMine Automated Processes are aimed at primary contacts, not the additional or miscellaneous contacts. So in your example, change of contact, just make sure the person in the top half of the screen, the primary contact, is the person on the receiving end of these actioned activities. So that will make no difference whatsoever. But of course, all previous things that went on, if you do things, you adjust your record in the right way, all the previous events to the old person, you'll still have that in history. Okay, so you're not going to lose anything. Eddie, how would it link in with regular mailings we do to our prospects? Well, I assume you are using one of the mailing tools that links in with GoldMine. So it's going to be complementary to that. And some of the mailing tools we've got with GoldMine, like IntelliClick, for example, they're tightly integrated with GoldMine. So depending on the responses of your marketing mailings, if I can call it that, that could update some bit of information against the contact record. In turn, that, thinking about your preemptive events, that could then remove the process. So if they suddenly, for whatever reason, that they are responding to a marketing email to download some literature, or they want an appointment or something like that, or they want a phone call, that could stop that long-term process. So yeah, it depends what mailing tool you're using there. Eleanor, what's the best way of recording a sale in GoldMine? Well, there was my simple example. I changed the contact type field from prospect to customer. That might be a really simple way. You could record a sale that will appear in the history of the contact record. Again, your process could observe recently created sales appearing in history, landing in history, and stop the process going forwards. There's detail records, you could put a product there. There's a few ways of doing it, Eleanor. So best consult with us. But you should have a way of identifying that. Question from Michael: is there a way to find out if there's an active process in place for a contact? Example, a salesperson no longer works for us and their email is no longer active, but that salesperson has attached process to various contacts. We want to ensure we either stop the process or change it. Yeah, so you need to go to the process tab on your contact records. And if you suspect that there might be these processes attached erroneously to contact records, what you could do is put in a sequential event or a preemptive event in the process. So if you can identify the process, so you spot a record, you click on the process tab, you look at the name of the process, you go to your automated process center, double click on the process, and if you create this is one way of doing it. If you create another event or sequential event of like number one or number 101 or something like that, so it's gonna kick off straight away, and the action would be remove process. So the next time processes are processed, run on your GoldMine system, all of those, any record that's got that process attached to it will straight away be removed because you've got that remove process preemptive or sequential event. But again, consult with Wizard Systems if you're unsure what this is all about, because you don't want to, if you are using automated process and some processes are valid and others aren't, then that you just need to be careful. Do a backup. Make sure you've got a backup before proceeding if you're not aware of what you're doing in GoldMine, because there's no edit undo. All right, once you've done it, it's done. Right, I think that's it on the questions. Thanks very much, the four of you, on that. Right, latest news as of December 2024. We are currently on 2024.4. Release of GoldMine. Make sure you've got a GoldMine maintenance contract from Wizard Systems, and then we can make sure that you've got access to these GoldMine updates for compatibility, solving any little issues in the product as well. Always a good idea to make sure you're on the latest release of GoldMine. Do you fancy a review there? Has it been some time since we've taken a look at your GoldMine system? And maybe we could actually look at any automated process or potential for automated processes adoption on your GoldMine system as well during that review. So if you would like a free review, we do it via an online call, and hopefully we come up with loads and loads of suggestions for you going forward to get more out of the GoldMine product. And if you've got any ideas for future GoldMine 101 topics, then please drop us a line or talk to any of us at Wizard Systems. My name is Tim Wilmot, but thanks very much, those of you on here live. There's other ways of contacting us. All of our previous events are recorded and they're up there on that YouTube channel. Just go up to YouTube and do a search for Wizard Systems, and you'll find hundreds of previous videos up there. Anyway, thanks very much for those of you watching this or watching live, and we'll catch up with you soon on the next GoldMine event. Thanks very much indeed. Bye-bye.